Thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate it very much. Nice hot evening. First day of water restrictions too. So makes it nice. So I'm JV Johnson, the representative for District 5, Wichita City Council. And have the meeting agenda today and kind of take turns rotating who runs the meeting. Tonight it's Grace Coyle, and I'll turn the meeting over to Grace.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the District 5 Advisory Board. So first up on the agenda is our call to order. So let's go ahead and can we go ahead and review the approval for the agenda, or excuse me, review the public agenda. So we'd like to look at those minutes from last time. Can we get a motion to approve those minutes?
All right. Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and look at our public agenda. So first on our agenda this evening is scheduled items. So Alex Michelle is here from the neighboring movement this evening. Alex, if you don't mind taking the podium. Welcome.
Way.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I had a PowerPoint. Okay, is this, do I point here? Do I point here? Should be. Perfect, okay. We do it. Has anybody here heard of the neighboring movement? Oh, yay. Okay, lots of people. Okay, so my name is Alex. I'm here on behalf of the neighboring movement today. I'm in their faith-based animator network cohort, which means I'm learning right now about asset-based community development, which is what the neighboring movement is all about. There we go.
Slideshows.
Did you hit that play button? There you go. Okay. So all about asset-based community development. Is it on? Probably not. Okay, so why asset-based community development? So typically community development is on a needs basis where people come in from the outside, organizations come from the outside in, and they look at the needs and what is quote unquote wrong with the community. The neighboring movement focuses on what's strong as opposed to what's wrong. This means instead of putting people in a mindset of disempowerment, it's more kind of showing people how can we contribute to the community from our neighborhoods from the inside out. So neighboring is a big word at the neighboring movement. Neighboring simply means building a relationship with your neighbors. In a study published in the Journal of PLS Medicine, researchers found that relationships that had stronger social connection had a 50% reduced risk of mortality over a 7.5-year follow-up period. It also showed that strong social relationships were comparable to the effect of quitting smoking and exceeding the effects of other risks such as obesity and physical inactivity. So when we are looking for assets in our community, one of the things we're looking for are gifts that our neighbors have. When we look for things like gifts of the spirit, gifts of the hands, gifts of the head, and gifts of the heart. Gifts of the spirit are things like, what is a moment that defined you in your life? What is something that was probably terrible that you went through that you could walk alongside somebody else to help them through it? Gifts of the head are, what is something you know so well you could teach to somebody else? Gifts of the hands are similar. It's what can you build and what can you do with your hands that you could be so passionate about that you would want to open a business for it. And what would that look like? Gifts of the heart are something like, you're so passionate about it, you would take a stand against it. Or for it. Assets aren't necessarily what you would typically think as assets within your community. It's those individual gifts that we found from the last slide within your neighbors. Those gifts that they can take and then offer to the community, the other neighbors within the neighborhood. So say they have a gift of speaking Spanish. Say there's a middle schooler across the street who is failing Spanish class. Then I can make a connection between those two, and then that gift can be activated to help that other person in the neighborhood. Other assets are institutions, physical assets like the local flora and fauna, stories of your neighbors, as well as exchange, like exchange as in You babysit for me for 3 hours, I'll babysit for you for 3 hours. We're exchanging time. Associations are another part of the assets in the community. So neighboring is important for a supportive community. Neighboring is shown to help prevent child maltreatment. It helps in safety situations for natural disasters, helps in overcoming loneliness, and then it has structured activities as opposed to impulsive and spontaneous neighborhood play. And this also helps us learn and see who the trusted adults and role models are within our neighborhoods. So what are some simple ways that you can revitalize your community? Start in your neighborhood, get to know your neighbors, start learning about them, connect them with each other, and have learning conversations. Discover their community assets and share the gifts that you learned about them. Next thing you can do is take the 8 front door challenge, which tomorrow, take that back, Wednesday, we are doing the We Care kickoff party. We're starting this new movement called the We Care movement, where we are going to show our neighbors in our neighborhood just how much we care. This night, we are going to have about 100 Wichitans, I believe they said, come and learn what the 8 front door challenge is, which is basically what I'm currently doing in the cohort. I go to my front door, look out my front door, my 8 closest front doors to me, I build a relationship with them, I learn about them, and I find ways to connect them with their gifts and assets. So you would learn this here. You're also going to get a fun little sign that says we care that you can put in your yard to show your neighbors that you're a safe person and you're someone who cares about the neighborhood and their well-being. Oh yeah, and there will be some like drinks and snacks. Basically, that's it though. So thank you guys very much for listening.
Thank you, Alex. Does anybody from the board have any questions? No? Anybody up here? Okay, let's give her a warm round of applause. Okay, so as a formality, I apologize. We need to go ahead and review the minutes from July 1st. Can we go ahead and get a motion to approve those minutes? Motion. Second, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Alrighty, so bouncing back to where we were. Do we have any individuals from the public who did not request to speak, who would like to speak at this time? Okay. Sounds like a plan. Can we go ahead and get a recommended action to go ahead and move these and file?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, so next up is the board agenda. So this is updates, issues, and reports. So this is an opportunity for the council member and district advisory board members to report any activities, events, or concerns in the neighborhoods within our district. Do we have any concerns or anything to bring up at this time? Alrighty. Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Keats.
I'll just give first of all, you probably all heard of the fallen firefighter, Ty Voth, 27 years old, died by your fire. If you don't mind, if we can just take a moment of silence, just say a prayer in your own way, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. His funeral is set for this Friday at the Kansas Coliseum at 10 a.m. So if you're viewing at 9 a.m., then his funeral set for 10 a.m. on Friday. So what's that?
I think it's at Hartman.
Hartman Arena. What did it say?
It's called.
Kansas Coliseum. Hartman. I meant Hartman, yeah. Okay, thank you. Everybody go to the wrong place. So, give you a quick update. Big news is water restrictions. We've got some signs here that remind people no water restrictions. Almost caused a divorce in my family, but my wife and I almost didn't make it 43 years, so she likes to water.
So how long do they think that'll go on?
It's for 2 months. So
So
unless we
we
just
pay
have
for
a
rain?
huge rain over Cheney water basin. So it is for 2 months, so.
Councilmember, I might mention, if you don't mind, it's 2 months to start. That doesn't mean it's over in 2 months. That's what we're starting with.
Gary. Killing me, man. 2 months, okay, thank you, Gary. 2 months to start, could be longer, hopefully not, Rock wetlands, that construction will start very, very soon. So I know that's a big, project for Brian and, thank him for getting that going. That should start soon. It's Hutton Construction that's doing that. I've gotten a lot of, calls and emails about the, streets. 13th, Ridge, streets. I know in our newsletter, we reported that they were gonna be finished in July. It's been pushed down a little bit. And so they're starting it actually this week. So they'll finish the overlay this week. The striping will be a week or two after that. So it'll cross over a little bit with Northwest getting started. That's what I was concerned about. Kids at Northwest, one lane, and kids and being in a hurry is probably not a good thing. So, but we should have the overlay done. The striping will be after that. So. Westlink Library expansion and renovation is coming along very, very well. We're gonna get a tour of it here in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's about it. Does anyone have any questions or any concerns from the board or from the public? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. So next up on our agenda, it looks like the library board report from District 5 appointee Susie Jones. No, Susie?
Doesn't look like she's here.
Tracy's on, but Tracy's a little bit later. So I guess we'll just move right on into staff reports unless Tracy has any calls. Okay.
Let's start with fire.
All right, sounds good. So we'll start with fire. So that is, yes, sir, excuse me.
Please.
We'll start with our
Awesome.
police
He's
department.
anxious to
I
get
know,
out
Mr. Atondo. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I will be quick, because I know the bosses from downtown have a lot of important stuff to pass out here. So for District 5, covers a little bit of 16B, a little bit of 19B. Well, a lot of 19B, but we'll go from the date of 7/7/24 to 8/4/24. And let's see, we'll cover part 1 offenses, violent crimes. So for 16B, which is south of 13th Street, down to about Maple and runs along Tyler, back to the east. So 0 homicides, 0 rapes, 0 robberies, 2 aggravated assaults, and 4 residential burglaries. 2 were residential burglaries, 2 were non-residential burglaries. There was 34 larcenies, and that pretty much covers all shoplifts, anything being stolen from a vehicle, anything like that. And that area has several retail stores on it. And 8 auto thefts. You think that might be quite a bit, but that particular beat has tons of apartment complexes. So when suspects go, they start shopping around and looking around there at night. But generally, we don't have that many. So for 19B, which is this area north of 13th Street, covering this area, from 7/8 to 8/4, 0 homicides, 2 rapes, 3 aggravated assaults, and 2 of those were display of weapons. Somebody has a road rage issue, they'll point a gun at somebody. We've had a lot of incidents like that over the years since that law kind of changed. And then we've had 3 non-residential burglaries and 1 residential burglary, 36 larcenies, which is again the shoplifts and the shoplifts from the stores along here around 21st and Mays, and 1 auto theft. So that's pretty good stat for that. We had a Second Chance Thursday event this last on the 11th of July. We cleared several warrants, about 50 or so, but we didn't have a large turnout. We had really hoped. It was down at Colvin Elementary. we're trying to kind of get that area of town. We were hoping we'd have more people kind of walk in for services with us and with possibly getting the driver's license back, even on a suspended status, but we didn't have as many people as we hoped, but we're gonna have a different location. We'll get that put out. Our next event will be sometime in October. The West Station is still in the works. Mr. Mayor, you know all about that business, right? More than I would. And you know, we always want to encourage people, if you see something, to call us. You wouldn't believe the amount of folks that we ran into where, yeah, I saw this guy with a backpack going behind the house. I just didn't think about it and I didn't call. So if you have something like suspicious character in your neighborhood, just call us. You're not bothering us. They'll ask you some questions, but we need the eyes and ears out there for us. So I'm done. Does anybody have any questions of anything? Well, I'm gonna let the bigwigs here. I'm gonna introduce the Deputy Chief, Paul Duff, to come up here and do his thing.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Deputy Chief Paul Duff. I think I've met a couple of you before, but there's a lot of new faces here. So we've been giving this presentation to all the other DAB boards. Basically, it's an overview of our crime reduction strategy, some technology we're trying to incorporate. We're trying to get ahead of the 21st century. So a couple of things that we want to do is incorporate a real-time information center. I'll briefly fly through this because I'm cognizant of the time. So we've been doing this about an hour and a half with about 30 minutes of questions. So I'm going to get it done in about 20 minutes and about 10 minutes for questions. So if you have questions, same for your end for the end, and we'll, like I said, hopefully we'll get through a lot of it pretty quickly. So we'll go over the gang database updates, the real-time information center, gunshot detection system, license plate readers, our violent crime reduction strategy, and some questions though at the end. So introduction is just myself and Lieutenant Brian Safras. It is Sergeant, but he got promoted today. So congratulations, Brian. So well done. Yeah. Captain Moses is away, and Chief Sullivan is out at the unveiling of the Jackie Robinson statue right now. So we're all kind of dividing conquering. So gang database update. So we did settle everything out. Agreement must be approved by the judge, which we're still waiting on. Basically, the settlement makes changes to how we operate the gang database. If you want all the full details on that, we can get them on our website, Kansas Appleseed, ACLU Kansas, or also wichita.gov at the patrol stations. And if you want printed out copies, we can get those as well. So community service index, just to show kind of what we're doing and kind of why we're doing it. So this went out, and so lower quality, low importance for us, traffic enforcement, which is no surprise, no one wants traffic tickets. So, and then also higher quality, higher importance is police services and also crime prevention. So this is why we're out here communicating exactly what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing what we're doing right now. So real-time information center. So basically we have technology that's kind of all over the place. And so a real-time information center is a place to kind of bring everything into one location and together. So it is a centralized location to basically collect information, disseminate it to the officers while they might be en route to a call, for investigators, for detectives, for the public as well. So it's designated to house personnel who have real-time access to technology assets and dispatch calls. So it employs technology and disseminates information directly to the first responders. So officers en route to a call can get a heads up and let's say, hey, this individual is on parole and he's wanted for murder. Or, hey, this individual does have several warrants and this, and this. Or, hey, this officer said last time in a previous case that this individual fought in last time. And so there's all types of different information that we can give to the officers en route to that call. Assist with ensuring appropriate response levels to keep the community and officers safe. For instance, we can have, let's say, call may come out to a large disturbance. Instead of us sending 6 to 7 different officers to that location, maybe from different bureaus, we could have the real-time information center look up, find out directly in that area. If we have cameras, let's say it's on Broadway and Murdoch, for instance, that individual can look in the cameras and see, hey, there is no large disturbance. Or maybe there is a large disturbance, and they can say, hey, coming from the south, because there's a lot of activity going from the north. So there's things like that that's just imperative and really important to get our officers that information when they need it. Proactive reviews in areas crime occurs even before dispatchers even be notified. Intelligent-driven funding the technology for police departments, operations, and deployment. We are a data-driven police department. So everything that we want is gonna be intelligence driven. So, it complements our violent crime reduction and prevention strategy, which I will go over. So current call for service right now, we get a 911 call. Dispatcher then takes the assigned priority to it, so it might say, hey, it is a level 2, level 3, and that depends on how many officers will then be dispatched to it, or in what timeline and what time frame. The call taker does data gathering, so basically they will only check the premise and known officer safety hazards. And then the dispatcher will provide that information and give it to the officers. So it's very limited, and there's still that third-party information that the officers are not getting that information or all of the information that they might need. This is live 911 technology. Are we able to play this? It's about 2 minutes. Let's see if it will play. Yeah, we'll kind of, oh, never mind. It's okay. Anyway, so live 911 basically is a system that allows the officer to listen into the call as it's coming in. So basically, instead of just having the dispatcher get as much information as they can and then relay it to the officer can get that information as it's coming in at the time. So the officer can already start heading that way. So once it comes in, instead of being dispatched, it could be 2-3 minutes quicker getting to that call because they can already start heading that way and they can listen to the call so they can tell if that person is distressed. They can tell if that is an active domestic violence. They can start a second officer. And so it's that immediately just, it helps the officers respond, and again, it can reduce response times as well. Community partnerships, it's not just for crime, it can be leveraged to provide all kinds of overall community safety and crime prevention. So what I've noticed in other real-time information centers across the country is that they are phenomenal tools to identify victims of unreported crimes. So our most vulnerable populations are unhoused, where a lot of our homeless, they might not have the ability to call 911 if they're a victim of a crime. Human trafficking survivors, juveniles of the undocumented, neurodiverse, mental health crisis, and silver and amber alerts. The real-time information can get that information. They can see it with basically people who are watching cameras, and they can see what's going on, especially up and down Broadway, which for us is a main area of crime and has been for the past 40 years of the city. So it's just a main hotspot up and down. So privacy, we are dedicated to protecting the privacy of everyone in our community. So we listened, we spoke to people about this around, and facial recognition will not be included in real-time technology. So a lot of other places across the country, they do have facial recognition. It's a phenomenal tool for them, but we're not even touching it. So I just wanted to put that out there that we're not messing with it in any way. So reviewing current policies of large agencies to ensure best practices. So I've been talking to a lot of different areas, and so like Oklahoma City is a great example because they worked with the ACLU to provide their policy. So their policy is in line with the strictest guidelines, the best guardrails to make sure that their information is not abused in any way, and make sure that they're in line with best practices, the law, and everything else. And so that's one of the policies we've been looking at. So we've been shopping around to make sure that we can say, okay, who's done a really good job in doing their research and getting legal guidance on the different policies and procedures that they have in place. Privately owned security camera footage can be provided in an opt-in basis. So there's one in Arizona, I want to say it's Glendale, that basically they have the equivalent of Quick Trip out there. And so what they did, they said to the police department, their real-time crime center, you can have all of our outside cameras. So they can have someone in their real-time crime center. So if a crime comes out, they can immediately go to that location at the gas station and see what's going on. And crime went down like 47%, and then the economic impact was incredible as well. So as crime's going down, more business investments coming in. And so they said it was in the millions and millions of dollars of economic gain because businesses were coming back and investing because crime was going down. So. The gunshot detection system. We have been a beta test site for a Raven gunshot detection system. So this basically, it's a system that uses acoustic technology to detect and locate fire and discharges in real time. It utilizes a 5-second audio recording and differentiates between gunshots and other noises. So the best example is like your phone. It can be there in a second, you say, hey Siri, it will kind of pop up, it'll immediately wake up. It's the same with gunshots. So basically the gunshot detection will listen and it will hear gunshots, and then it will immediately switch on, record those 5 seconds, and then it will then send out an alert. Right now it's just set up to administrators, but when it does, it will go to the real-time crime center and it will lock in exactly where that location is. One of the interesting things is that as we've been doing this research, we have an 83% rate in this city of people not calling 911 when they hear gunshots. So, which means that only 17% is actually calling 911 when they hear gunshots. Now, we thought this was an astronomical number. And then we went to a conference in Major City Chiefs Association, and St. Louis was exactly the same number. They were like 81 or 82%. So it's not just us, it's actually, it's consistent across the country. So right now, we utilize a Raven gunshot detection system. It's in a beta test format. It's currently no cost to the city. Equipment is owned by Flock. Alerts are not directly provided to officers or dispatch currently. So it's just received by the administrators. So we've been at a test site. So we've been wanting to see if it works. We've been wanting to test it. They say it does. Okay, well, let's see if it does. And so basically it goes to Brian. And Brian will go out the next day and say, okay, he'll look around the area. He'll say, this is where a gunshot has been. He will then go out and look for shell casings. If he finds shell casings, he'll make a case. He'll go knock on doors and be like, hey, did you guys hear any gunshots? And people will be like, yep, we did. We heard them over there, but we thought somebody else called. And so that's how we have got that data. And then he will follow up on it. Privacy considerations, we've placed in hotspots for gun violence utilizing 5-year data analysis. So we're not just randomly putting them anywhere in the city. So for the past 5 years, we've had consistent hotspots across the city that have been the focus of violent gun crime and gunshots, and that's where we're placing them. So there's no audio or visual surveillance. And again, I've spoke about the 5 seconds, and remote listening sensors is not possible. So people have asked like, hey, if these sensors are up, can I just go in there and listen to people hanging out there underneath? The answer is no. It doesn't work that way in any way, shape, or form. There is no possible way of us doing that. So this is a quick hotspot. So this is the past 5 years. You'll see the dark red spots, orange spots, yellow and green. So the darker it is, that's where the hotspots. So we've got around there around Harry and Oliver, and then the north one is around, is that 13th?
13th
And
to 19th.
13th to 19th around about Hillside area. So that's where our areas are, and that's where we've been testing this system to see if it works. So benefits to the community, it reduces the notification time. Again, if we have 83% of our population not calling 911 when they hear gunshots, we can get that data. It will go to the real-time crime center. Basically, from the real-time crime center, we can send an officer. And basically, if we're there in a couple of minutes, then if somebody is shot, we can save their life. So, and it's just that simple. It saves lives. Enhanced accuracy in reporting, gun violence impact in the community. Basically, it works. So everything that we've tested on this, it does, it works. Legal considerations, compliance with privacy laws and regulations, adherence to the Fourth Amendment rights, transparent data handling and storage, and regular system audits and oversight. We want to put databases and dashboards of basically showing people like, hey, we got gunshots over here this time. We don't want to put houses, we don't want to put, because we want to be cognizant of people's privacy rights, but we're going to say in this area, in this beat, and we're going to lock it down to say, this is where we're getting our gunshots across the city. Some of the case studies. So this is how it works. Every green dot is a sensor, and the red dot is basically where the gunshot occurred. So we've all been on calls where we get a call basically hearing gunshots. We've been driving around our beats when we were officers and we'd hear gunshots and be like, okay, where'd it come from? We cannot pinpoint where it is. We're like, well, I thought it was over here. I thought it was 3 blocks to the east. I thought it was 2 blocks to the west. And so you end up driving everywhere trying to find gunshots and shell casings. This has locked it down. So basically, it works in a triangulation system, and you need 3 sensors for it to work. If it's just one sensor hears it, it won't send off anything because you need the 3 to triangulate, and you need 3 to locate accurately where it is and what area it's going to be in. So with this one, 2400 block of East 16th, we found 1 spent cartridge casing located. And that was a photograph of basically the cartridge casing, and it was almost exact within, we're talking like feet of where it is. So very effective. Another case study, this was at 14th at Estelle. Basically the red dot is where we located the triangulation, and the blue is the shell casings. So it's very, very accurate, basically, is what we found. So it's been very effective. So license plate readers that we have, basically we utilize 160 Flock cameras. License plate readers, basically cameras placed in data-driven locations, specific areas. We have strict policy regarding when and how Flock can be utilized. So for instance, if your car is stolen, we will put it in the Flock database, and if they drive past the Flock camera, it will send off an alert to us, and it'll say, we've just saw this stolen car at the intersection of Broadway and Murdoch, whatever it is. And so officers can head that way. It's the same for amber alerts, silver alerts. It's basically just a way of saying, hey, this vehicle was involved in a shooting, a homicide suspect, whatever it is, we can put it in Flock, and basically it's solved lots of homicides. It's been a phenomenal tool for us. It's been a game changer. So we do have a strict policy regarding when and how Flock can be utilized. There is an audit process in place to ensure any violations can be addressed. Basically, the Flock data is stored for 30 days and then purged unless utilized in a specific case. This is true because we had a homicide, because we actually called them, and it was after past the 30 days, and we're like, okay, we know you say this, but do you have this information we need it for a homicide? And they flat out said, no, it's gone. When it's gone, it's gone. So So that is accurate because we did try. So a violent crime reduction and prevention strategy. Jensen Hughes basically wants to publish and disseminate an overall policing strategy that illustrates individual and unit roles in its implementation. So we have a two-pronged crime reduction strategy that we're focusing on right now. One is place-based policing, and we use what's called a risk terrain modeling to do that, and a person-based policing, which is a top offender model. So risk terrain modeling is basically it's an environmental conditions that lead to crime. So it's a mathematical-based procedure, so you get a risk-based score. So for instance, you see how it's layered. One of those layers might be gas stations. Another one might be addresses of parole locations. Another one might be motels. So whatever it might be, this is what's called a risk index, and these crime analysts are brilliant at what they do, and they've got it down to, let's say, well, if you are near this particular gas station at this time at night, we've got parole addresses, whatever it is, and that has a higher risk, there's a greater chance of being a crime in this area. So when you layer that with a hotspot location, now we have what we are basically our officers and our crime analysts going to start doing a deep dive on that data and start looking into it and say, okay, well, what's the root cause? What is causing this problem? It's not just a hotspot where we used to have hotspot policing where we just throw police into the hotspot and be like, okay, there's crime, there's violence, go find it, go figure it out. Now we can say, hey, specifically, there is 4 or 5 different robberies outside this laundromat. Why? Well, we can go in and there might be illegal gambling machines in the back of the laundromat. So that might be causing an extra foot traffic coming in, people getting money, illegal activity, people are getting robbed. So that's one of the things that risk terrain modeling does. It breaks it down. So, and it's also based on location. It's not person based, so it's less susceptible to bias, and it promotes positive engagement in the community because we can talk about it. We can show it. We can show the data and we can show the maps and basically say, this is why we're here and this is what's going on. So. What makes it different? It tells us why certain areas are prone to certain types of crime. And again, you can look at the different layers that go into it. So there's a liquor store within a block, there's a convenience store, there's a gas station, and then different areas. And so it will focus in on basically, and it does come in to say, okay, well, we had a robbery here at this time and whatever it may be. So it's an easy way of breaking it down. It looks at places, not people. It's a sustainable technique. It's data informed. It's easy buying for participation. It's proactive and problem solving oriented and reduces and prevents crime. So some of the successes, Glendale, Arizona reduced robberies by 42% in targeted areas. And also that's Newark, New Jersey, reduced gun violence by 35% in the targeted areas as well. So it is a program that's worked in different places across the country. So what can we do with the information? We can work with the community to reduce and prevent crime. So this is data that we can show. We can go to meetings and be like, here it is, and we can break it down and we can actually show what's going on. Informs officers of risk areas for proactive presence. Patrol cars can park at risk areas and turn on lights for a short designated period of time. So we stole that from the Dallas model, and basically what they did, they would go into these areas and for 15, 20 minutes, they would kind of predict, okay, we're having issues or robberies in this given area around this time on this given night, and they'll just send police officers in there and the presence, deterrence, and they'll put the lights on and they'll just drive around the area with the lights on, let everyone know that we're there. And it's amazing how much crime decreased in Dallas. And that's one of the methods that we're going to start utilizing here as well. So if you see police driving around with lights, don't be scared. It's part of the crime reduction strategy because we've seen that it works. So and then engage other city departments to provide support in risk areas. So for instance, abandoned properties, it's important that we have enforcement teams, code enforcement. It's important that we have abandoned facilities, we get other city departments involved to help us clean those areas up. So that's also one of the root causes. And so it's not just those by ourselves, we have to have partnerships and get this done. So top offender model. So this is the 3-part formula. So basically it's weighted on the connection analysis, criminal history, and threat assessment. And actually done with a mathematical formula, and that is it. So our crime analysts are much smarter than us. We're all cops because we didn't like math, but that's why we have our analysts. So this is the actual formula they use, and they stole this from the Milwaukee method. And Milwaukee did a phenomenal program in putting things together. So it's something like, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 30% on the connection analysis. So for instance, they will look at all of our data in our RMS system, and they'll say, this individual doesn't have to be a suspect, they can be a witness on 6 different shootings. So it's like, okay, why is this person a witness or around these 6 different shootings? So they can figure that out in the case, and then what's their criminal history? Have they been on aggravated assault, possession, so they have a higher score for that, and then a threat assessment. So have they been making threats? Are they in a gang? Have they been running around causing fights, have they been fighting people, whatever that may be, and they put all this information together, they come up with the formula, and then they put them in a score chart. And basically, and it's all crime based. So, and that is it. Did I do well there? Did I get like the 20 minutes? Okay, fantastic. All right, so questions that I kind of flew through that real quick. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah. Yes.
Hi, I was on the, I did Citizens Academy,
Oh, excellent.
and so I did a ride along, and no disrespect, but do we have the officers that can go sit in these areas? Because I rode around with an officer, we couldn't even get to all the calls that they received. She had to just prioritize, and some calls didn't get answered.
That is a fantastic point. I'm glad you brought that up. And so Dallas is the same problem. And how they got around from it is like, here are your spots. And they will tell an officer at this time, whoever it is 10-8 or whoever it is, and they'll utilize even, like we have specialty units like CRT or CP. And so basically it's a self-dispatching. So the captain will say, I need you in this time zone, in this area. Whoever's available, you're going to be there at this particular time. And so that's an important part of reducing crime as well and preventing crime. So we have to make that a priority on top of responding to 911 calls. But yeah, it's a fantastic point. That is, we have taken that into account. Yes.
Is a lot of this information going to be public data or is this?
No, this presentation is all going to be online. So everything is going to be online for anyone to kind of look up and kind of see that you need to see the formula and everything else. This exact presentation, you can look over. So
when you get the analytics on, okay, there's
Yes.
criminals and you get that sort of third weighted equation,
yes.
is there gonna be a published like roster of like, here's
So, no, that's a great question. So we don't have, again, like, it's not like the gang list that was like, okay, we're getting sued for this. This is all on criminal history based. So as long as you're not committing crimes, you're not gonna be on the list. So, and it's, you drop off it. So every week it's a new list. It's gonna be like, hey, this individual has been involved in 4 or 5 different shootings. And then we have NIBIN as well. So we can tie in NIBIN leads to say, okay, well, they might be involved in 4 or 5 shootings, or they've been around for 4 or 5 shootings. And sometimes, so our officers can then focus on the top offenders of who basically are trigger pullers in our city. And so this can also be used for burglaries as well and everything else. But right now we're focusing on violent crime, and we really want to reduce our violent crime and gang shootings. Because one of the trends we've noticed is that over the past few years, our shooters are getting younger. And we got kids with guns, kids are shooting other kids. And so the social media is a whole different game than what I was on the streets with. It's completely different. So it's a new game, and all our shooters are much, much younger. And on most of our shooting victims, it's, I want to say this year, the vast majority are between the age of like 15 and 19 or something crazy like that. So that's why we're out here saying, hey, this is what's going on. We want everyone's help to help us with this. So, and these are some of the strategies that we're implementing, technology and crime reduction strategies as well. Yes.
You said that with like the gun, the sensor, the IO sensor, and it records for like 5 seconds. Is that, if it picks up something, can that be used in like charges or after?
So it will be definitely, let's say for instance, officers are just driving around and we get an alert, then that's the probable cause to say why we headed to that given area.
Okay.
So officers will head that area, and if we see someone with a gun, well, no, maybe we can test a gun then at that point. So if we see a victim, you know, of a gunshot wound, then now, I mean, as we all know, it's seconds count in that. So they're the moments that we can actually save lives. So I've been speaking with fellow officers in Chicago, and they are looking at getting rid of ShotSpotter, which is kind of a system. It's completely different to the one that we're looking at right now. Ours is more machine-based. Theirs was basically, they would get it, it would then go to California, they would listen to it, an expert would listen to it and then say, okay, yes, it's a gunshot, and come back. The price was astronomical. But the police are all upset because they want to keep it because they know it has saved lives. And so that's one of the big things for us, is being able to come here and say, yes, it helps and it does save lives. So.
Yes. The same system, you mentioned it's been in beta tests for a while.
Yes.
Appears to be highly accurate. When might it not be in beta test? I'm guessing there's a budgetary element to procure.
There is, and so this is the process that we're doing right now. So basically, we are big on community engagement. So I want to come, this is one of the things we're coming out is like, hey, what are your thoughts? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it different? Give us different ideas. And so that's why we're going around to every single DAP meeting to say, hey, give us your thoughts. I mean, we pride ourselves on being engaged with the community and kind of putting ourselves out there and basically saying, this is who we are, this is what we want to do. And so Our goal is to do all adapt meetings, get the positive feedback, and then basically go to council and say, this is what we want. This is why we want it. This is part of our strategy moving forward is technology, because it's gonna help us, so.
Any other questions? Yeah.
No.
Great.
All right, thank you guys, really appreciate your time, so thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Duff.
Thank you.
All right, do we have Battalion Chief Jones from fire in here? See, what do not. Okay. Sounds good. All right. My favorite report. Being a little biased there. Tracy, good evening.
Hi, how are you guys doing tonight?
Well, thank you.
Okay, excellent. I'm sorry I'm not there. The library is a little bit short-staffed today, so I had to stay behind at the library. The things that I wanted to let you know, do a reminder about Local Author Day. That's actually happening this Saturday at our Advanced Learning Library. It actually starts with a writers panel from 10:30 to 11:30. The local authors that they will have are Julia McBride, Grant Snyder, and Jillian Forsberg. And they're going to talk about writing, publishing, and marketing themselves and the ups and downs that they have personally experienced when trying to get a book published. Then from 2 to 4, we'll have an actual author expo, and that's where you will have the opportunity to meet Wichita's diverse array of local authors and purchase their books and get signed copies, which is incredibly exciting. Another thing that I wanted to mention, the library is pretty ambitious, so not only are they doing the Westlink branch remodel, but they've now started the Rockwell branch remodel. The Rockwell branch library is the second busiest branch in the library system. And basically what they're doing for it is a small extension and then redoing everything inside. When they are done, they will have more study rooms, a teen section, a drive-up window. So we're really excited about that. And another thing is we are sponsoring a Red Cross blood drive with the American Red Cross on Monday, August 26th from 11 to 5 at the Advanced Learning Library. And as you all know, the Wichita Public Library has a library of things, and they're constantly adding to this collection. The newest thing that they've actually added are blood pressure monitors. So if you do not have a blood pressure monitor at home and you are interested in like testing one out and seeing whether or not it's something that you would like to have at your home, you can now borrow one of those with your Wichita Public Library card. It comes with a monitor, a logbook, a survey, and an instruction booklet. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is the Wichita Public Library received a grant from the state of Kansas Adopt program, which actually allows us to install solar benches, which have free Wi-Fi and charging. And we actually received a grant that's going to fund the installation of 12 benches in low-income areas. They've actually already done 3, one at the Evergreen Park, the Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center, and the Colvin Neighborhood Resource Center. And the whole goal of that is to expand wireless access to residents who don't have as much of an opportunity to have that access. And those are kind of the things that I wanted to highlight. Does anybody have any questions? No questions. Okay, well then I will see you next month, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so next up we have our Parks and Recreation Department, Barbara McGuire here to speak with us this evening.
Good evening, everybody. So with the little drought situation that we're in right now, the first thing to tell you about is pools are closing early, if you hadn't heard that yet. So our pools will actually close on this coming Sunday, August 11th, and a little bit earlier than normal, obviously. And then the splash pads are going to stay open though, however, until September 29th. You know, as recycled water, so that's very helpful. It's not like getting a lot of new water like our pools. You'd have to fill our pools weekly because they do lose water, and so that's a good thing that we're having to close those because of the drought. The dog days of summer that we usually have at College Hill has been moved up also. So if anybody is interested in going to that, that is on Monday, August 12th. It's the day after all of the pools close. It does benefit the Kansas Humane Society. We partner with them. They have little dogs can come at 5:30 to 6, and then the big dogs come And from 6 to 7:30, and little dogs can stay if they want, but that's just their little private time. And it is $10 a dog, and it is $1 for any of the spectators that come with them. And again, the water is not something that we encourage people to get in knee deep at the most, because we don't want them to get any sort of, parvo or anything like that from the dogs, because they will unfortunately use the pool for other things, so. The digital copy of the Evolve went live today, so this is gonna be the new Evolve for fall. And it does highlight the Miracle League program, the library and the Park and Rec and City Arts. We rotate the cover, so this time it was Park and Recreation. So it features the Miracle League program. We just finished our Miracle League swim program last week, and then we're getting ready to start baseball. So we pretty much have Miracle League going on pretty much all year round now, except for maybe in the winter, January, February, March months, so. Let's see here, and then we'll have printed copies of the guide too. They'll come out next week and they get delivered to the rec centers and other city facilities, and then they have them in restaurants and things like that too. Vendor registration is now open for the Open Streets ICT on Douglas. And that, if you weren't aware, the Open Streets ICT has moved from September to October. We are partnering with the Prairie Fire Marathon, because they have to have a massive numbers of road closures with barricades and police officers, and so do we with that event. So we're going to be partnering on that. So that way we're kind of sharing the cost on all of that. So it seems like there's going to be a lot going on that weekend for sure. City Crew is our kids club, and it's for ages 2 to 12, and we have an event monthly. And our event coming up this weekend is at Watson Park. It's called our Family Fun Day. And it's just basically a play day for kids and parents. So, and it's exclusively to the City Crew, so they do have to be registered ahead of time to be able to participate. But they'll get snow cones, face painting, carnival games or tabletop carnival games. They'll get to ride the paddle boats, train ride and all that sort of stuff. So it's a great parent and child bonding time. And we have one every single month. Let's see, we've got the Park and Rec app. So I'm assuming somebody's probably talked with you guys already about the app, because it's a pretty big deal. So if you haven't downloaded it, please do. It has been wonderful for customers to be able to do everything they want to do online or on the phone on the app, because you can actually rent facilities and register for classes. And like for the summer, we used it to where you can check out to find out if you had splash pads or pools that were closed, because things do break down. And so that way we put it on there so people could check before they went, to make sure before they take a busload of kids, to make sure that it is up and running. So that was super great. Country Acres Dog Park. So a lot of you are probably interested in that. I was told that a contractor has been selected, and the additional alternate items were within budget, and they have been accepted in the contract. So this means there's going to be an enhanced entry area, including gravel with reinforced concrete curbs, concrete fence edging, black vinyl coated fencing, and irrigation around the pen entries. So I think that's going to be great for all of our dog lovers and dog park users. I wanted to end with a spotlight on a program. And we try to have a variety of different programs that we offer through Park and Recreation. We really look for programs that are unique, that are maybe not done being elsewhere in town, because we want to showcase different things and have a little bit of something for everybody. Well, we have a program that's called Learn How to Become a Beekeeper. And we've been doing this program for about 10 years. It's held there at the Orchard Recreation Center in this district. And I got to tell you what, that program is every time it goes. When we were first contacted, we thought, well, let's give it a try. We've had those classes full. We've taken up to 25 people in them. We're still getting anywhere from 8 to 15 people in every single class. So if that's something you're interested in, learning how to, set up your own hive, learn how to use it for honey, learn how to find your queen bee. I don't know how that all works, but learning how to do that, and then finding out what the best practices are for it. And the gentleman who teaches it at Orchard, he's absolutely wonderful, because if you're interested in doing that and you get your hive set up at home, he just on his own, he goes and helps you with it to make sure that you got everything set up the way you want it, everything's working the way it's supposed to. If you're having problems with your queen or whatever, he's there to help you do that, because he's just very much about repopulating our bees. So If you've not taken that, just consider that one, because it's a fun class and it is over there at the Orchard Rec Center. Anything else? Anybody questions? Yeah,
I may be asking the wrong person.
Okay.
We planted a whole bunch of trees last spring at Alice Wall Memorial Park. How are those gonna get watered?
I'm sorry. I'm on the recreation side, on the maintenance side, and that's something I just don't know anything about. We could maybe next time when we have, our Gary Ferris, maybe, our arborist, and give you some information if you wanted to.
I can email him.
Yes, I was gonna say, Gary's the one to tell you about that,
Okay.
but honestly, I don't know.
All right, thank you.
So I just downloaded the app for your recommendation.
Yeah.
Very slick. I see lots of things you can rent on here. Do you know if you can rent the pickleball courts at Riverside on here? I don't see it.
Riverside, yeah, that would be at the tennis center.
Mhm.
So go, is there an app, a section for the tennis center? And you can rent courts there. It's really intuitive. It's really easy to use, whatever you're looking for. Click on it, it'll give you all your options, so it works really smooth. But yes, you can rent pickleball courts. You can actually rent the pickleball courts and the tennis courts online. So that's really great. So people can rent those ahead of time and make sure that because, pickleball, come on, everybody knows that it's a big thing, and you gotta get your court early, or otherwise you're not gonna get it, especially if you're wanting indoor courts, because they go really fast. So, but yeah, it's wonderful. The app is wonderful. Anybody else?
Everybody know where Orchard Park is? Actually, it's in District 6, I think.
Is it, oh, I thought it was 5.
No,
Oh,
it's close to
I'm
us.
sorry. I thought it was. I thought the Harvest.
9th and West Street about?
It's at 9th. It's about 10 blocks west of West Street on 9th.
Just north of Town West.
Sorry, I thought that was your district,
Yes.
our district. Harvest Pool obviously is, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have a rec center then. I was thinking it was, so apologize for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
We can do that. Or you can do that. Anyway.
All right. So let's go ahead and back it up, because everybody's gonna throw me for a loop this evening. We're gonna go with our fire department report, and
I'm sorry,
You're keeping me on my toes.
Well, I was at Dab Ford, which was at airport today, and then just left the airport. I was almost here, and I had to go back to Learjet for fueling. So turned around, came back here. So my name is Jason Jones. I'm Battalion 4, work out of Station 16, which is around 1600 block Tyler. I have a report, which I believe is available to everyone. And I have actually just had one, looks like one accidental fire that was at 9800 block of West Shady on the 3rd of July. Someone put scissors in their toaster and left them unattended, so not a good way to do that when you leave the house. I do have some other information on some fireworks numbers that we had. Better this year than last. Less injuries, less calls, less damage. So damage overall was down from 60,000 to 10,000, which is really good. The number of fireworks injuries decreased by 3. We had 36 citizens of Wichita that sought medical attention for fireworks injuries versus 39 last year, so that's about the same. But there were, let's see, the non-emergent line was open from June 30th to July 6th, and we had 1,160 calls to that non-emergent line, down from 1,224 last year. So actually, with the fireworks being a little more open than they were even last year, we had less problems. So that's good news. I think it was fun for everyone. And I know there was just in my neighborhood, which is out of 135th and Maple, there were a lot of fireworks. So seemed like everybody was pretty safe and abiding by the rules. Obviously, most people have heard that we had a firefighter pass the line of duty, so the department's been pretty busy with that. See, it sounds like that funeral is going to be at Hartman Arena on Friday, I think Friday morning around 10 is what I'm hearing. So, do you guys have any questions for me on anything else? We did have a significant fire on the west side within DAP 4, but it was at Maple and Tyler around noon today. So no one injured there, but the duplex, severe amount of damage in that. One side burned up almost totally, and then the other side was smoked up pretty significantly. So we sent extra firefighters during these heat. They will send extra firefighters to those. So we controlled it about an hour's time. So too bad. Not, I guess, bad for the people so much, but not so bad for us. Anyone have any questions? John? Sorry again, I'm sorry I'm late, put you out of order,
Oh,
but
It's okay. I
yeah,
got
we
it.
did, but the.
Dennis does that. Excuse me.
We're not like the cops where we have enough people to, you know, just.
I got a question for you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
I don't think this has been within the last month, but, and this is more just my general west side curiosity. There's a farm, or what used to be a farm, abandoned farm, Central and 135th, I think the
Mhm.
northwest corner.
Yep.
I think it's been the site of a couple fires, maybe within the last.
There was that's just north of, it's just north of Central.
Yes.
They had a significant fire there a couple months back,
Man.
and I think it's set for, it might already be down. They were gonna demolish it, so I go by there all the time on my way to work, so
Sure.
I think that it's already down. And there's a new development going in across the street there.
Right.
I think, and then between Central and 13th.
Yeah, that's right.
Where 135th was closed there for a few days. Yeah, so it's right across the street. I'm not sure who lived there, but it had been vacant for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but it shouldn't be anymore.
Arson, like, do you know?
I don't remember what the deal was with that. It had to be something, either lightning or usually, it's something like that if there's not any power to the home. Typically, if there's not any power or utilities whatsoever, then it's either natural, like a lightning strike, which is pretty rare, or squatters or something of that nature. Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't have a lot of that on the west side, as far as abandoned properties where people do squat, but we do have some here and there. Yes, sir.
Fallen firefighter that all the first responders in the procession.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I thought that was the day that he was being buried, but
Yeah,
explain how that.
yeah, I'll
ended up.
explain how that works. So traditionally, when a tragedy like this happens, that the firefighters will escort the firefighter from the hospital to the autopsy. And then, so the autopsy was completed, and then they escort them to the Rest Haven. So Rest Haven donates their services to the fallen firefighter police officers, and the committee of 100, I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, they donate a lot for that as well. I believe Hartman Arena is donating their space for the funeral, but yeah, that's we call that a dignified transfer. So they're transferring his body from the coroner's office to the mortuary. So yeah, I was off duty that day, but my wife and I went out to Maple and 119th there, and there were a lot of citizens. It was very nice how many people came out. So that was a pretty nice deal. Now he'll just go to Hartman. I'm not sure what the plans are for from Hartman Arena, but I believe he's going to be buried out of town, like Whitewater or Newton. He's from Newton area, so I'm not sure what
So
the
the
plan
funeral,
is.
they'll do a last call back thing.
Yeah, they'll do that on Friday. So thank you. That's a good question. That I was a little confusing. I think that you reported on the news that it was his funeral procession, which wasn't exactly right, but a lot of folks don't know thankfully, we don't do a lot of those things around here where we have that type of service. Okay, well, again, sorry I'm late.
Fine,
Chief,
thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Joan, before you depart, if you would take back from us, from this body, our love, appreciation, and prayers to the family of the one that we lost, and to Wichita Fire Department family as a whole.
I will.
We appreciate everything that you guys do, and I really hope that our community continues to rally around, and we are a beacon of light. You're in struggle because you guys are there to lift us up.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. I do appreciate all the outpouring that, you know, that the folks that were, you know, stationed with him and obviously were with him on the call, you know, that's tough times for them. But that the community's been so good, and of course, like we would expect, but, and I do appreciate it. And I'll pass that along. Thank you, guys. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Chief Jones. So next up is our Public Works and Utilities report. So that is our director, Mr. Gary Jansen. Welcome.
Dave. That's.
Okay, thank you. Gary Jansen, Public Works and Utilities. Originally, our design engineer was gonna be here tonight. I told him I was gonna be here in case there were questions about the drought and water restrictions, so I just told him I'd take care of this. So I haven't done this for a while, so it's kind of nice to be here, and I'm not as in tune to the projects as he is, but I think I can answer most of the questions probably. A lot of this was already discussed by Councilmember Johnson and others, so those projects we heard about already, I'll move through pretty quick. Park Wetlands, Councilmember Johnson mentioned that construction is going to start soon. It could start as early as this week and should be completed by the end of the year. As far as pavement preservation is concerned, we've got some work to wrap up on Maze Road between Maple and Central. That's scheduled for August this month. As Councilmember mentioned, the work on 13th Street and Ridge Road will be mostly completed this week, with the pavement markings to follow up after that. So we're getting close. This time of year on those types of projects around the communities when we start to wind down and wrap those up. There's a few other things going on in some of the residential neighborhoods, microsurfacing work that will start in August, along with some crack sealing. Because those are multiple locations, those are included on our website. There's an interactive map for outsourced pavement preservation program that you can find anytime you want what specific work is going on and when. Councilmember Johnson mentioned the Westlink Library. Work should be done by the end of the year and open in early next year. I know you mentioned a tour. I know our library director is giving tours, I think, weekly from now to about the end of the year, so whoever wants to take a tour. Wichita Police, new Patrol West substation on the campus of Northwest High School is under design. We expect to be under construction this fall and probably take 1 year to completion. So it'll be fairly similar to our East Patrol substation near USD 259 administrative offices that just opened. Really cool facility if you haven't been by to see it. Kind of developed a template from that, making some modifications and changes on things that they've learned, but it's a really nice facility. So we're looking forward to getting this one done. Kellogg and Ridge interchange improvements. We've been working to try to secure federal funds through the bipartisan infrastructure law. We were awarded some congressionally delegated funds for moving forward with further design and development of a plan, hoping that'll help increase our chances for construction funding beyond that. The interchange itself is outdated, it's obsolete, it doesn't work well. No matter what we do with the timing of those traffic signals, still not a safe situation. There's a lot needs to be done to rebuild that interchange, and working with our airport director and staff, there's a lot of things that we think we can do to enhance mobility throughout the entire campus. Right now, there's no transit service to and from the airport. That is part of what we're looking into to try to accommodate that. I think that would be a big deal for all of us. So next steps are moving forward with design. We got almost $2 million in federal funding for that, and we'll keep pushing to make improvements. Continuing to see increased traffic and users at the airport. So it's just gonna add to the volumes and the stresses that we're seeing there. 135th Street West from Central to 13th is under design for widening to 3 lanes in 2025. We are putting in a traffic signal at Central, 135th, that will be done sooner. Hopefully that signal will be in by early next year. And then the improvements will come after that. Country Acres Dog Park was mentioned. I guess I really didn't mean this, did I? I thought I had to switch slides. I didn't realize, sorry. Country Acres Dog Park was mentioned. We did have a good bid on that. Construction will probably start, I would guess, within 30 to 60 days and be completed by the end of the year. Then we have some other projects on here. West Kellogg, 111th to 135th. We are actually finishing design plans this year. That project will be shovel ready. Working with KDOT to see within the state transportation plan where that might fit for future funding, working on a lot of things, how that ties into future Northwest Bypass, Northwest Expressway. So it'll be good to get the design done. So those improvements are ready when the time comes that we can fund that. 37th and Ridge Road, we are finally about ready to make some improvements there. I was just there the other day. If you spend any time going south on Ridge, 37th, and you want to go west, you're gonna sit there for a while, and it's gonna get worse when Dino's opens. We're bidding a project in August that's gonna add a southbound right turn lane. Gonna make some enhancements there, put in a median so that we create some safer access control for movements in and out of those new developments. It's gonna be a really nice improvement, so that should start in around September. Our new transit facility or multimodal facility, we've had a few snags with that. If everyone doesn't know where that's going to go, just northwest of the baseball stadium where the biggest lot is, temporary parking lot is where the new multimodal facility will be. We received a $15 million federal grant from the Federal Transit Authority to fund a good share of that. Tried to open bids once. We had some challenges with that. So took a step back. We've made some changes. There's a timing issue with contractors. We're going to open bids again on August 23rd. So we expect to have that under construction in the fourth quarter of 2024. And that will probably take 15 months to build. So that facility will replace the current transit facility that's right by the arena, south of William between Topeka and Emporium. Gonna have some really cool stuff with it. Electric vehicle charging. It's gonna be a really good upgrade from what is there now. And it's being incorporated into what's happening with the new transit routing study that's being done. We're still working on, well, not we, KDOT is still working on plans for improvements to K96 between I-135 and 21st Street North. Gonna include improvements to all the major interchanges. Construction now may not happen until 2027 because of the next project to improve East Kellogg from K96 to east of 159th Street, which should be under construction next summer. And at the risk of having everything in that area under construction at the same time, North Junction will be winding down in 2026. East Kellogg will be under construction starting next year. Probably gonna hold off on K96 between the two until East Kellogg is further along, but lots of things happening in that area. North Junction itself, if you go on East 96 to 96 and you look back to the south, you can really see what's happening there. And they're getting a lot closer to being ready to allow K96 traffic to take that direct route, which is gonna be huge for traffic congestion. You know, the first phase of that built the flyover from northbound to westbound was a big deal. This is going to help a lot too and alleviate some of that congestion on 135. There's been some delays on the project related to railroads that I think they've overcome and are moving forward on. So that project should be done sometime in 2026. Another thing I wanted to mention that's not on this list, we are working on plans to convert the remaining one-way streets in downtown to two-way. by early next year. We've got the US Figure Skating Championship coming and mid NCAA tournament. We want to have it done by then. There was a time when those one-way streets made sense. We think now it's going to do a lot to create better connectivity, and really it'll do some things with traffic calming too. But you know, there was a time when those one-way streets, whether anybody likes it or not, they were used to get people in and out of downtown and not to stay down there. So Main Market, Topeka, and English will all be converted from one-way to two-way. Gonna be a big deal. You know, I work at City Hall, and that's been a one-way street southbound for a long, long time. And everybody knows, especially when you come up Main to Douglas and you've got to turn either way, it's gonna be kind of nice to be able to go north. So we're wrapping up those plans now and expect to have that done by early next year. I'd be happy to answer any questions, including if you happen to have any questions about the water restrictions. It's been kind of a crazy day, with today being the first day.
Yeah, so those are all the north and south streets that are gonna be converted to two-way, or First and Second Street are part of the plan?
Thank you. First and Second Streets are the ones we're gonna leave alone for now. They work pretty good. For the purpose that and right now, because of some spacing and parking and things, we're gonna leave First and Second Street the way they are. Everything else will be converted. I meant to mention that. Thank you.
What about those streets going south of Kellogg? They be converted to, or?
Right now, the conversions will be from Kellogg to Murdoch roughly, and nothing south. That could probably happen in the future though.
We'll make sure you guys all got your questions. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the report. The question I have is not specifically District 5, but a lot of District 5 residents use Hoover Road from going north to K96. And I know at one time it was scheduled to be widened. What is that schedule?
It's still scheduled to be widened. Schedule's been delayed, not like we'd wanted. We got held up on some right of acquisitions. There was an issue with drainage and Barefoot Bay. I think most of that's been resolved. We're trying to wrap up the final right of way acquisition. Right now, our hope is to begin construction in the first quarter of 2025.
That would include not only the widening, but also the intersection right up here.
Yeah, right out here. We go to 3 lanes. There will be, we'll connect the path right up in front of this building over to this signal, which will take you all the way up to the path at 29th, which goes all the way up almost to K96, which makes me think of something else. We have another project then that's under design now. Hopefully we start late this year. Where that path stops right now at the south terminal of the K96 and Hoover interchange, we're going to take it under K96, up past K96 all the way up to 45th Street to connect to what will be the future park there. So that'll be kind of nice to get that up connected to the neighborhood. And we're going to build a parking lot there. So even though there's not any paths in the park just yet, people can kind of start using that area. All of that'll be kind of nice because that'll end up connecting Central County Park in the future to Crystal Prairie Lake Park. Any questions about water restrictions? I would remind everybody, SaveWichitaWater.com is a great place to go to. There's tons of information there. If anybody, so we are now into watering 1 day a week by quadrant. Today was northwest. Tomorrow, Tuesday is northeast. Wednesday is southwest. Thursday is southeast. No watering Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we started all over again. I've been really impressed at what we have seen and heard about compliance and people willing to help out. It's tough. You know, I've been with the city almost 30 years now. We have never done this before. The level at Cheney is getting ever closer to the lowest level we've ever seen it in 2013. So I'm confident we're going to see a change in usage. I'm certain that we have 11 wholesale customers who have to comply to the same plans. They have all jumped in the middle. There are some folks that don't like this, and I don't blame them, but it's been really good response so far. We're not asking people to rat out their neighbors, but if you see somebody watering when they're not supposed to water, it can be reported through the Wichita Report app. See it, click it, fix it. Or by calling our customer service number 942-4482. So what happens is if we get a notification of somebody using water when they shouldn't be, the first is a warning. That'll be done by mail and a door hanger. We are not going to go out and actively pursue people using water. We're gonna have staff, our construction staff, our neighborhood inspection staff who's out on the streets, they're wherever they happen to be. They happen to see somebody watering, they know it's the wrong quadrant, they're gonna let us know, we're gonna send out a warning. We're not going back to that house to see if they water a second time, but if somebody happens to complain, then there's a fine schedule. So after the warning, it's $50 fine. Next time after that's $100 fine. And then every single day after that is another $100 fine. We're not trying to make money on this deal because we wouldn't be making money anyway. It's to try to get people to make sure they understand how important this is, that we've all got to work together on this. So we'll see how it goes. We had talked earlier, if there's those who didn't hear it, right now our plan is for the next 2 months with hopes that by the end of September, maybe we actually get some rain. By the end of September, we get a break in the temperature. What happens beyond that, we'll just have to see. The big deal in all of this is this facility you're sitting in right now. This plan is scheduled to come online in April of 2025. At that time, we have the ability to treat a lot more groundwater than we do right now. Right now, our current plan is limited on the amount of groundwater from the Equisped we can treat. Our Equisped's aquifer is in great shape. It's 92% full. It's not impacted by the drought for a lot of reasons, like our surface water is at Cheney. We are maxed out right now on the amount of groundwater we can treat, but once this facility comes online, we can reverse that and can treat a lot more groundwater, taking the stress off Cheney, slowing down the amount that it's dropping, but hopefully by then we get some rain. 2013, for those of you who are around, a drought got wiped out in one massive rain event, so we can hope for that again. Yes.
So when you say watering, is that watering the whole yard? Like, can you water your flowers individually? I mean,
My answer to you is you can only outdoor water 1 day a week.
If you don't have a well.
If you do not have a well. So thank you for asking that. So as part of our drought response plan and part of the ordinance, this does not apply to those with wells. However, we are asking everybody to conserve the same. And it makes it a lot easier on enforcement if people with wells aren't out there watering every day either.
So, but the public golf courses are still gonna be watered?
Well, they are, but I will tell you, since January of 2023, when we went into, and even before that, but stage 1 of the drought conservation plan, which was voluntary conservation, we have made some significant changes to public golf courses and how they're watered, how they're mowed. Grass types were changed out. Some of our public courses, McDonald, they reuse the water that's in the ponds. They're not tied to the public water system. Some of our golf courses use both well water and some city water, but I think on our end, on our golf courses, we've made a tremendous effort to change and make changes internally on the amount of water that's being used. So we've got a lot of questions about golf courses. The way the ordinance is set up, those businesses whose core activity, they generate their core economic activity by outdoor water use are exempt, including golf courses, car washes. We get a lot of questions about car washes. Commercial car washes use a recycled filter system. So they do use more water, but that's not fresh water every day. They couldn't afford to be in business. The whole idea was these are places that employ people. They are a business like any other, and we're trying to do the most that we can to not run anybody out of business during this time.
Won't landscaping company, won't it affect them?
That's the ones I've heard from the most. It very well could. We are a couple things on that. Johnson's Garden Center sent out a I would give them all the credit in the world for looking ahead. We've been talking about this in January of 2023. Did not just spring it on anybody. They sent out a newsletter just in the last week that said, we have got drought tolerant materials. We've been thinking ahead. We can help you make your landscaping survive with watering one day a week. They're doing exactly what everybody should be doing. So I've talked to landscape companies who've called, we've talked to them about those types of things. Some of them have access to well water so that they can help out if things need to be done to be able to get those things started. I talked to Wichita Area Builders Association and some of the major builders in the area. They're backing off on all their landscaping until further notice. So even with the fall parade of homes, they have made an exception to not, they're not gonna be putting in sod, any landscaping. It's not ideal. That impacts landscaping companies, which we recognize. So we're trying to work with them and find creative ways to still make this work. As soon as we start allowing exceptions to watering things, it's kind of hard to know where it stops. So keep our fingers crossed things change in the next 2 months.
Several people have asked, why don't we dredge Cheney? Well, it's so low. What's the answer to that?
So the answer is that Cheney doesn't need to be dredged. There are 24 reservoirs in Kansas. Of that, 14 federal reservoirs provide water to 2/3 of the people in Kansas. There are some major problems. Tuttle Creek in Manhattan right now is somewhere in the area of 40% sedimentation, and the Cheney Reservoir, from the information we have, has one of the lowest sedimentation rates of all the reservoirs in the state. And that's because of our efforts over time for protection in the watershed. We have participated in multiple programs with the Cheney Watershed Group, with First and Conservation Group. K-State's been involved in their RAPS program. We've done things for sediment and erosion control within the watershed. You're not the only one that's asked that even today. We have no reason to believe there's any dredging that even needs to be done. This is not a capacity issue with Cheney. We're not getting low on water because it's not big enough. Since 2022, rain in the Cheney watershed is 20 inches below average. That alone explains it, right? This problem that we're facing isn't really an overuse of water. It's the fact that that's a 600,000 acre basin watershed and it won't rain. The last year, it's been unbelievable. When you see the weather come in and watch the radar and it just splits and goes around it. Raining here, not raining there, it doesn't do us any good. It's a big, good question. Anyway, thank you all for everything that you're doing to be a part of this. We appreciate it. If you ever need something or have thoughts, you can reach out to me. We've got a lot of people working on this. City Council's right in the middle of it. I'm going to be providing weekly reports to them about what our pumping volumes are from our water treatment plant so that we can see if we're making a difference. There are some unique situations. There's issues that we're trying to work with landscape contractors. We don't want to see anybody go out of business during this time, but we have to be very careful about where we open up that door. It'll just get away from us. Anyway, thank you. Yes,
What
ma'am.
are the signs behind you for?
Oh, for you to give away.
You can take one.
So this is for well users?
No, it's
No.
for everybody.
This is for anybody?
Not to use water.
But not for well, but let me mention something real quick before I forget. For those that do have a well, and we're not gonna try to be overly burdensome about this, you are required by code to have a sign that says it's well water. And that really helps a lot, okay? So I've had a few arguments about this already with people said, you can see my well from the street, I ain't putting up no sign. Well, just because you have a well housing there doesn't mean it's an active well. It helps us. If you have a well that's tied to the city system in Wichita, you are required by law to have a backflow preventer. That's tested every year, rebuilt every 5 years. I think we've caught up to those. We have 25,000 of those. Some people still don't. It's not asking that much. You need to put up a sign. That's not what these are for. These signs, anybody are welcome to have to help promote our cause of limiting water. Thank you for asking.
Where do you have to post the sign? Does it have to be, I mean, I'm serious, my well's in the back, and so to post my sign, would it have to be on my door or my?
Yeah,
garage
ideally,
door?
if you can just get it out somewhere out front where it's easy to see. We're not gonna try to dictate that too much, but so that it's clear. If somebody drives by and see your sprinklers going, they'll see the well sign,
But
right?
the sprinklers aren't supposed to be on from 10 in the morning.
But it's all right if you're on a well.
Right, I mean, even that, if you're trying to kind of abide by the time frame.
So ideally, even if you're on a well, you should not water between 10 AM and 8 PM, especially when it's this
Saw a
hot.
sign coming from Amazon, but that's on Thursday, so I don't want to.
We have some printable versions online too, if anybody wants, but thank you for asking that.
Thank you so much. for
Thank
your time,
you.
Gary.
Glad I took that from you.
Right.
Gave you some pull.
Alrighty, so to move forward, can we get a motion to go ahead and receive and file staff reports? So moved. Second, all in favor? All right, rock and roll. And then I am so sorry. I hate to call people out in a crowd. Is your name Susie?
It is.
Amazing, Susie.
I'm so sorry.
You're okay. We're gonna backtrack just a little bit, and Susie is here to do her library board report.
Okay,
So-
well, Tracy stole all my thunder, the library gal, because I literally was gonna talk about all the things she was gonna talk about. I've just started serving on the library board. I've been to 3 meetings so far and I absolutely love it. I don't know if you know what all the libraries did, but I'm learning every time I go. Blood pressure cuffs, never thought I would see that at the library. They have such a wealth of information. So I think kind of the next big thing is, of course, they're doing all this construction and all these kind of logistical things. But I serve on a subcommittee that's kind of like a marketing subcommittee, and we're just trying to get the word out to the community that the library is for everyone. There is literally something in the library for everyone. And encouraging all of our city council people and advisory board people to get a library card. If you don't have one, we have lots of leaders in our community who don't even have a library card, and I think we should all be leaders in that library cards are free. So that's the big thing, is getting the word out about what libraries do. So I guess I would just say, if you don't have a library card, go get you one and see what it's all about. Yes.
I just want to remind everybody that the Daughters of American Revolution is having an exhibit at the library. I think it's for a full week of August 11th. And it's an interactive display. It's part of celebrating America's anniversary for 250 years.
Okay.
Which one, is that the main library?
The
Main downtown library, 2nd floor.
Very cool. Yeah, there are lots of things going on there. The Genealogical Society meets. You can go and learn your genealogy and family history. It's really, really a lot of neat things going on in the library. They do a lot with not very big budget, honestly. So I'm pleased to serve. And thank you all for serving.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Okay, before I hear our keys, we're gonna pause for a second. So Rachel just let me know that this is actually Carter's last evening with us. I know. Okay, we can all we did it forever. So I just wanted to take a moment and recognize and thank you, Carter, for all of your service and voluntary time. I know I don't always speak for myself, but we so appreciate you, and we're looking forward to see your leadership skills continue within Wichita community. So you wanted to say anything?
Well, I hope you could find Aggieville. Yeah, no, good luck to you. Hope the college days go well and you have fun, but not too much fun.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you for serving.
For having me.
Thank you, Carter.
All right, guys. So next time, due to the Labor Day holiday, we're gonna meet here at 6 PM, Wednesday, September 4th. So have a lovely night.
I want to
Water-
add something before we leave. I'm on the Airport Authority Board. For those of you who've flown out of the airport recently, we still have no Wi-Fi. And you hear people complain about that. That was taken down when we got hacked. It was kind of a perfect storm though, because our Wi-Fi was not up to snuff. So they're looking at some temporary solutions. They said it will be a year before we can never get the system that we want back up. So there are a lot of people complaining about it in the community and they think that we're sloughing off, but it's actually not the case. So it was taken down in the hacking and we can't get it quite back. So just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on that if you hear anything complaints in the community.
All right, well, with that, water your yards accordingly. See you guys next month. Take care.
Good job, Grace.